We talked about Embiid and Paul George and all the other old guys on Philadelphia. Now it's Tyrese Maxey, it's Quentin Grimes, it's Jared McCain, and it's your favourite. It's Adem Bona, Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and if your mum wears earrings, I think she's cool. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. So I don't want a single bang. It's a double bang Monday, so do the audio and do the video. Check out the show we did earlier today as well, where we talked about the Philadelphia 76ers and the disaster that is Joel Embiid and Paul George and Eric Gordon and Andre Drummond and Lonnie Walker and Kelly Oubre and all that stuff. And we went through their draft picks and their upcoming free agents and all of that sort of thing in today's show, which still is International Nurses Day. So shout out to nurses. We're here to talk about the other players, the under 25s on the Philadelphia 76ers. So I guess we're just going to go straight in now, and we'll start with the best one of those guys, the player that many might argue at the moment, considering, availabilities, is the best player on the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't think that's true, but Tyrese Maxey is here, and he was having a really strong season until things went terrible at the end of the year. And I don't think that's understating it or overstating it even, because when players went down like George and Embiid, we saw some upticks in Maxey, but he also just couldn't do it. He couldn't maintain the high level of efficiency, which he was putting up ridiculous numbers earlier in the season. And you can see on the pre- and post-deadline splits up on the screen if you are watching this. He was 11th before the trade deadline and 75th afterwards. Now, it is a small sample size after the deadline, but still, we have seen that as a relatively regular thing with Maxey, is that when he doesn't have somebody else to take some of the load off, when he is forced to be the number one guy, he cannot be efficient. And that hurts his fantasy numbers. Now, he's probably not 75th best player level of efficiency. He's more in the 30s or 40s. But he had a really incredibly strong run earlier in the year, especially with 2-point percentage. And that made him the 15th ranked player, 14th actually, for the course of the season. 15th in points leagues, averaging 44 fantasy points. He's only 24. He had an incredibly high usage of 29%. And that was one of the things I got wrong with Philadelphia. I thought that Maxey would pull back a little bit and George would stay not quite at his Clippers numbers, but would pull back somewhat from that, but not as far as he did. Also though, when we're viewing Tyrese Maxey's usage numbers and his stats for this season, Embiid played 19 games. So, and McCain got hurt, and George was injured. So, is Maxey actually a 29% usage guy if the team is 75% healthy? I still don't buy that. I don't buy that he's going to be that level of usage player. He averaged 26 and 3. Now, the 3 rebounds, not good. 6 assists. He's a point guard. Not that good. It's fine. It's not that good. Part of the thing, well, again, I'm a little concerned here, is he shot 34 from 3 only. He shot 44 from the field. Now, he's had 2 really good shooting seasons. His rookie season, disaster. But put into a situation where he had to maintain a high usage, he couldn't keep the efficiency going. And there's a little bit of a concern there. Darko really did not like him. 12th percentile in terms of delta. So, while we can look at the counting stats, look at that, top 15, what a great year. In terms of his on-court impact, I don't agree that maybe he was that far in terms of going backwards. I thought there was a level of stagnation in what Maxey did, and it was fueled by some stuff which I'm not really certain is real. More importantly, that 1.8 steals. I don't think he is that guy. That is, especially when he's 51st percentile in deflections, I don't think that he is that level of stealsman, so I wouldn't be banking on those numbers. So he is going to be a risky one because, again, we're in a situation where Embiid didn't play. George was a shell of himself. Maxey's efficiency could go up from here, but it also might be in a situation where it never gets back to those past heights. The steals go back to 1 a game, and he's the 35th best player. So that makes it a little bit harder to sort of position where he is. 96th percentile offensive load. Time on ball, 97th percentile. Embiid, and George. Like, we still don't really know. So is that one of the big themes of this Sixers team? Do we just don't know? We don't know how it all fits together. We don't know how they're going to play, if they are together, or will they be together? For how long? How does it all go? There are all those questions that surround Tyrese Maxey, but everybody else, because it's all about fitting puzzle pieces together. It's not about everybody else stays the same and one person rises or one person dips. Everything has to fit in together. So is it possible if George plays more or Embiid plays more that Maxey's assists might even go down? Or you could argue that they go up because he's got better players to pass to. Could go either way. His efficiencies go back to 40s, it's at 37 from 3. What do his steals do? As much as I don't really worry that much about the injury that ended his season, the back injury, which we saw happen. That was a legit injury. He could have come back, but we saw that. The finger injury, which was limiting him somewhat, and the shooting is not just because of the finger injury, by the way. It did impact him, but he was struggling before that. What the thing is with him is that he's a relatively safe player, but if you go too high and go, well, I'm taking him pick 16, pick 17, you're expecting almost 2 steals. You're expecting 29 usage. You're expecting him to maintain those numbers that he maintained or largely acquired because Embiid played 20 games. And that's a little bit risky. He is 24. There is still upside for him to improve. I believe that efficiency can rise. I don't think you can keep the efficiency pushing up while the steals stay that high, and the usage is going to be a tough one. So when you're talking dynasty, there might be a marginal sell high window if someone goes, all right, 14th, Embiid is cooked, he's 24, can he be top 10? I don't think he can be, but maybe someone gives you that. Maybe. It's a tough one to pull off, but if there's anyone and any cohort of people that are great at pulling off, it's the people that watch this show. So let's talk about Quentin Grimes, who is a player that I've had some mixed feelings about. And by mixed feelings, let me say, I didn't like the pick necessarily when he was drafted. I thought his numbers coming out of college weren't that great. Then I saw him play for the Knicks and went, okay, we're interested here. He's got an ability to ramp up to high usage, to pull down to low usage, to be a point guard, an off-ball guy, to be a tenacious defender. We saw that in the playoffs. I think it was against the Heat where he guarded Jimmy Butler. And he was awesome in that series. And then the next year, Tom Thibodeau didn't really put much trust in him. He seemed a little bit banged up. He was traded to the Pistons, and his knees seemed absolutely cooked. So much so that the Pistons dumped him for Tim Hardaway Jr., who is also very much not good. And part of the reason that he went back to Dallas in that trade, from my understanding, from what I've been told, is that he wanted to get home to Texas. He's a Texas guy. Okay, so that's part of it. But I also was not led to believe, but I believed that his knees might be in such a poor state that the Mavs or the Pistons actually were more happy to just say, okay, well, you want to go home. We don't actually think these knees are going to be good. And I was out on him for that reason. He was one of the guys in my group of, say, 4 or 5 players that, if he gets a chance to start, he will be great. Or he'll be very good. Or a surprise. Kobe White, Emmanuel Quickley, Peyton Pritchard was in that group. All right? And then I worried about the knees. Then he went to Dallas. And it was hard to get a foothold. Luka was there. Kyrie was there. For some reason, Spencer Dinwiddie was there. But Grimes showed a few little flashes. But it wasn't until he went to Philadelphia that things absolutely kicked off. 229th before the deadline. Traded to Philly, 46th. Now, of course, there's context. McCain was out. Embiid was out. George was out. Maxey was out. This man was unbelievable. He played 1 million minutes. He got to do everything. And there are players who can't do that. There are players who'd be putting Grimes to spot who couldn't do this. So that's a tick. But he's not going to get to do this. He is a restricted free agent. I don't know where he goes. The Sixers should be trying to bring him back. But again, even if he started over Jared McCain, and I think he should, because I don't think that the McCain and Maxey backcourt actually works together, he would be a player that would need a couple of guys out to actually get the usage that he needs. In the end, his season was 22 usage. He's under 25. He's almost 25, though. He played 27 minutes, 131st in Durant, 125th in points leagues, and that's for the season for Quentin Grimes. He averaged 15, 4, and 3 with a steal, so not inflated defensive stats, didn't block shots, 39 from 3. Nothing there is super inflated in the overall season numbers. It's just that the second half of the year, he played 36 minutes and took every shot for Philadelphia and ran things and had top 10 runs. He had universal praise in terms of the Darko and the drip delta, 92nd and 98th percentile. His offensive load was only 76th percentile. Time on ball only 67th, but I reckon if we looked at the Sixers portion of that, it would be way higher. And again, it's all context related. He might very well enter the season as a starter. But who knows? There is Kelly Oubre, there is Maxey, there's Embiid, there's George, there is McCain. But regardless of what happens, it's very hard to envisage a scenario where he gets to do what he did that turned him into a top 50 player. I don't really know how that happens. It would need a series of unfortunate events, shout out to Lemony Snicket, to get to that number. I don't know how he does it. In fact, I'm pretty sure he can't. I like him. I've liked him for a long time. He was probably someone who sits around that 100-ish mark, 30 minutes, best case scenario. But I do love the ability that he's got to ramp. If he needs to ramp, he does. Could you be the number one guy? Is your team going to lose? Sure. But we put up numbers? Absolutely. We do it efficiently, pretty much. And that's exactly what he did. Point guard, off ball, guarding, defensively, offensively, shooting, do whatever. He did it all. And that is the sign of a player. There is just a little bit of something there. But again, when we're viewing what Grimes did, he's going to be very hard to consider a must-draft player next season. And in Dynasty, you got to be cautious. You got to be cautious. I like him. I was impressed. It might be absolute best case though. I think it probably is. Today's episode, it is brought to you by the swooshing and scoring legends over at DoorDash and DashPass. You know what time it is. It's playoff season. And that means there are going to be big performances and even bigger rewards. DoorDash is bringing the heat with a slam dunk deal. For DashPass members during the 25 NBA playoffs, they call it they swoosh, you score. So anytime a player drops 50 points in an NBA playoff game, DashPass members can get a free 3-piece crispy tenders combo from Wingstop the very next day. You place an order of $20 or more, use the code Wingstop50 at checkout, and that combo is yours. Crispy, delicious, and totally free. It's offered from noon to midnight, the day after the big fella drops the 50-point game. Terms apply, of course. Now, is a 3-piece crispy tenders combo, it's not 50 pieces, obviously. You could bash out a couple of those, I'm sure. And I believe, now, I don't know if this is true. This is not related to DoorDash and DashPass. So I'll just say DoorDash, DashPass, DoorDash, DashPass again, so they get their mentions in. I think Wingstop is actually opening in Australia. And I haven't been to Wingstop. Is it going to be good? Sounds like it is. From this, I don't get this offer. Shout out to DoorDash. Come on, bring it down here. But Wingstop's opening, so now I'll be able to actually get in there, crunch my way through a 3-piece crispy tenders combo, and let you know from experience. It sounds great, but I need to get there. And it is opening somewhere, hopefully soon. Very soon, hopefully. Here's the play. Sign up for DashPass, unlock this and more exclusive deals all season long. When any player scores 50 plus in a playoff game, DashPass members can grab a free 3-piece crispy tenders combo from Wingstop the next day with a $20 or more order, and the code is Wingstop50. That is DashPass, your door to more savings, more flavor, and more ways to win. Terms apply. Okay, so we've talked Grimes, we've talked Maxey. Let's talk Jared McCain, because he sort of came on with a flourish. And like basically every player on this team, we have to provide context around Jared McCain, because he didn't play at the end of the season. He wasn't there in silly season. He was at some weird silly season at the start of the season when everybody was out. And he came in, he played 1 million minutes, he had sky-high usage, and his efficiency as a rookie was through the roof. And everyone seems to think, and maybe this is true, I don't know, that he would have won the Rookie of the Year had he not torn his meniscus and was out for the season. But let's, again, put into a little bit of context that stuff. He ended up playing 26 minutes a night. He was out of the rotation behind Kyle Lowry and Reggie Jackson early in the season, took over as the backup, moved into the starting lineup. A Maxey and McCain starting backcourt, I don't think works. They can't defend. They're too small. Neither of them are good creators. McCain's actually a bad creator, I think, as a point guard. I don't think he's a good passer at all. I don't think it works necessarily. But if they didn't have Quentin Grimes, I would say you really don't have much choice, do you? That's going to have to be a backcourt. But with Grimes there, I don't really know where McCain goes from here. And it's one of those ones, again, where we got the hype. He came in. Players were out. He dropped multiple 30-point games. He shot unbelievably. He was efficient. His usage was through the roof. Here we go. Top 50 guy rest of season. But even before he got hurt, when players returned, it fizzled. Because his game is built at this point, he's 21, at this point his game is built on scoring. And nothing else. And if you do nothing else, you need to get a lot of shots and they need to go in at a really high rate. In the end, he shot 38 from the field and 46 from the field and 38 from 3, 88 from the line. Excellent free throw shooter, really good three-point guy. No worries about those numbers being that good or even improving, especially the three-pointers. Could it get to 40, but at 38 as a rookie, really good. Obviously, he just played only 23 games. But he was 200th overall for the season. He averaged 22 and a half fantasy points a game. They're not super strong. No steals, no rebounds, no assists, no blocks. He's a scoring guy. The advanced number deltas liked him because he's a rookie. He was bad and then he was good. And he was good. But look at that, like passing creation volume as a point guard, 67th percentile, pretty bad. Deflections, 16th, terrible. Not much on ball. And on this team, George Maxey Embiid, he's not going to be on ball that much. So I think he'll be a relatively popular guy to draft at the end of next season. We need to see what they do, obviously. I think he's going to be one of those players that really doesn't live up to it. He'll have some big pop games. He'll have some games where he disappears, but he doesn't have much to buffer through those games where he doesn't do anything apart from score. He can't really do that. He doesn't get assists. He doesn't get steals. He doesn't rebound. And will he even get 35 minutes? Will he even get enough usage? There's a lot of questions here. I like what I saw. I liked him as a player. There are a lot of holes. And part of the problem is we can talk dynasty and long-term views on players, and we shouldn't pigeonhole ourselves into say, well, he's on this team, it's not going to work. But on this team, even if Embiid is not there or George is gone or whatever, I don't know how it works with Maxey. I think Maxey's a better player. McCain is at the moment an undersized shooting guard who doesn't really do anything else, and that's not going to hold. That's not going to play. That can all improve. But even look at his college passing numbers. They're bad. He's not a passer. He's a scorer. He's impressive. I loved what he did. It was a very, very good season from a rookie. But we can look at it and go, well, he would have won Rookie of the Year. Yeah, but that's like saying which piece of shit smells nicer. Let's be fair. That's a bad class, right? Being the best rookie when you played 23 games, it's not telling me much. It's not saying, well, that's a future star. Could he be? I guess anyone could be. But I think that it's one of those ones where, again, because it was so underwhelming, we saw the flashes, we ignore a little bit of the downturn after the flash, but then he was done. So it's like, all right, he didn't have a chance to suck. He didn't have a chance to get into a reduced role. None of that happened. And that's where I'd be a little bit cautious about McCain. Is it sell high in Dynasty? Yeah, it always depends, doesn't it, about what someone else is offering. But the fact that we saw 23 games and, say, 15 of them were quite good, it gives you a nice base to work off. If you are a little like me and you're not fully there with the well-roundedness, the future starter, long-term, the star level upside, and I'm not. I'm not there on that with him. Then we get to a bunch of guys who were pushed into roles largely because there was nobody else. Justin Edwards was a top 5, I believe, college recruit, and then was bad at college, and then didn't get drafted, and signed a 2-way contract with the Sixers, and didn't really do much early on. But as the season went on, he did become a starter. Of course, it's with Maxey, Embiid, George, Oubre, Gordon. Everyone's out. Edwards, though, was better than he should be given what the beginning of the season told us. He only had 16 usage, so he didn't really sort of make hay through just getting extra shots. I thought he played well defensively. He shot well from 3. The free throws are a little bit of a worry. Drip likes him more than Darko, so Darko was not as impressed, and I'm probably more on the Darko side than Drip here, but 31st percentile offensive load is not high very clearly. His rim contest and deflection numbers are pretty good in the 60s. That's pretty good. He wasn't an on-ball guy. He's not a passer. He's a guy that sort of is out there. He's got the size. He plays the 3. He can play up a little bit at the 4. You need these sort of players. But is there a standout skill here? It's not assists. I don't think it's shooting. It's probably defense, and in 26 minutes getting a steal and 0.4 blocks is okay, but it's not a mind-blowing type number. I think that what we saw from him, and they converted him from the 2-way into a full-time contract, and I mean, that's fair. He should be that. You want him as a best case guy a 10th man. Is he better than like Ricky Council? Probably. Could he develop into a player that's as good as Kelly Oubre? And you heard me in the last show tell you about what I think of Kelly Oubre. No, I don't think Edwards can actually be that good. So while he had some good numbers, after the trade deadline when all of the stuff went haywire on this team, he was still only 180th. He had I think he had an injury of his own, but he missed a little bit of time, not much. He ended up playing 44 games. But it was just a bunch of like midness. There were some times when he'd use him, he'd hit some threes, he'd get a steal or two. But overall, 10 and 3 in 26 minutes, 1.5 threes with a steal. Like, it's fine. It's fine, and he's a rookie, and he improved a lot, and he changed some perceptions. I'm not sure how many more levels there are. I think there is some. I think he can get better. And, yeah, he's got the player that, okay, in the, like, I won't even say 99th percentile outcome. In the 120th percentile outcome, which means not going to happen. It means somehow you've gone way above everything. The player that he can become is the guy that's on his team, and that's Paul George. Like, size, not quite as big as George, but, yeah, not as good of a rebounder, but some defensive stuff, some shooting, some passing, just doing bits and pieces of things. That would be the idea. It's not happening, but that would be the idea. That's the sort of player that you would hope, or that I guess Philadelphia would hope that you could get out of him. Whether it happens or not, that's probably something that's not going to happen. Let's be fair. It's Paul George, an unbelievably good player, a Hall of Fame level player, and Justin Edwards is a two-way guy who is just not going to hit that number. But again, as a guy who we didn't really have many thoughts about all season, to actually get to this level, I think you should feel, if you've got him in any sort of dynasty format, you should feel like, okay, we can probably get something out of that as we move forward. We can probably get just a little bit of a little bit more value than that position would have suggested. When you go into something like Crafted NBA, like the most comparable players, like the guy by the name of Marcus Liberty, don't know who that is, but Terrence Ross, 2016 Jabari Parker, 2016 TJ Warren, unfortunately 2020 Jarrett Culver, not a good comp. So he was solid, but not spectacular. We've got some more guys to talk about, and we are going to come back and talk about them in a sec. But today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Often, you'll be looking at your accounts and go, where's the money? Why is it gone? What have I missed? Well, Monarch Money helps you keep track of that stuff. Helps you keep track of your finances. Where is the money going? Categorizing it. Figuring out what you're spending so you can keep control of that, but also help to plan for the long-term future for your financial goals. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, though. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So stop just managing your money and start building wealth. The all-in-one convenience of putting all of your banking and finance apps into one place is unbelievable. Instead of having to open every app and there's all the identification stuff and two-factor authentication, it's a frustrating thing to go to all those different apps. Monarch Money tracks it all in one place so you can help get your long-term goals under control. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com. The code is LOCKEDONNBA, but that is half off for your first year. Today's episode is also brought to you by Hungry Root. There's always something going on. Work, friends, school, kids, mental breakdowns, whatever it is. Something is always happening in whatever it is. I won't even say it's busy season because every season is busy season. That is why you can use Hungry Root. You might not have the time to do the grocery shopping, to cook healthy meals. Hungry Root will come in and be a savior for you, let's be fair. It's like having your own personal shopper and nutritionist wrapped into one neat little package. They take care of the grocery shopping, the meal planning, personalized recommendations based on your tastes and your health goals. With high-quality nutritious foods, you can stick to that gut-friendly, high-protein diet without spending hours planning. You can get your gluten-free stuff in there. You can just get fast, delicious, and healthy meals for your family on the table in 15 minutes or less with Hungry Root. So take advantage of this exclusive deal. Get 40% off your first box plus a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. The code is LockedOnNBA. That is hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. The code is LockedOnNBA for 40% off and a lifetime free item. All right. Now, there's one more guy that's really interesting, and it's not this next guy, but this one's Jared Butler, who started for the Wizards and had a couple of big games, some really incredibly high usage games out of nowhere in Washington. And we got our eye, well, no, okay, that's interesting. Then he disappeared again. Then he came over to Philadelphia, and he was playing the contract game a little bit alongside Jeff Dowden. Butler, though, is on a full-time contract now. He is 25. He's had a few false starts in his career, heart problems through college, some knee problems. But he started off with the Thunder, actually, a couple of years ago. I think nearly every time I've seen Jared Butler on the court, I've been impressed. And I'm not really sure what it is that teams are missing from him. Whereas he goes out there, I think he plays well. They go, yeah, nah, see ya. Sit on the bench. Go to the G League. Get cut. Get traded. Get dumped for Reggie Jackson. I don't really understand it. Butler ended up playing 17 minutes. He had 23 usage. He played in 60 games. He was 148th post-trade deadline. Pretty impressive. He had a 91st percentile DPM and 92nd percentile drip delta. Huge improver. And I actually 100% agree with that. He was 95th percentile on ball, passing volume up, offensive load was high. He deflected the balls at a high rate. He averaged 0.7 steals in those 17 minutes. He averaged 9 and 4. And 9 and 4 doesn't seem much. Jared McCain averaged 2 assists a game in 27 minutes. Butler passed. Butler had good usage. Butler shot 36 from 3 and 82 from the line. They're all really good numbers. But again, Maxey, McCain, Grimes, where does he fit? I would like Butler. They're not the same player at all. They're not remotely close to being the same player. What I would like is to see Jared Butler, or the way that I could see Jared Butler working in the NBA or where the career goes, is what happened with Scottie Pippen this season. A guy that every time he played, you go, hey, he's good. These numbers are good. Why is he not getting chances? And that's really sort of the way that I feel about Butler, is that the chance just needs to be there. He just needs to get that that opportunity the way that it did happen for old mate Scottie Pippen last season. We saw it. We saw Pippen get that chance, and after working on a two-way contract for as long as he was, he was able to start things off. And that's what I do think could happen with Jared. So, if I had to view him versus a Justin Edwards, even though Butler's older, I do think that he is a better player. I think he's got better fantasy prospects. And as a 25-minute a night, like TJ McConnell, Scottie Pippen, these guards who start, they come off the bench, he can defend, he can pass. There's a lot that I like about him. A lot. And I don't know that there's ever going to be a future starter in Jared Butler, but if he had a season, let's say like Quentin Grimes did this season, second half, in a different scenario, Butler could do that. I'm actually pretty high on him. If he was 23, I'd be way higher. I'd be like, okay, now we've got a bit of runway here. But he is 25. I think we might be able to get 2 to 3 seasons where there is on-off fantasy roster viableness. Which again, just think of the way that we treated Scottie Pippen this season. I do think that Butler, not as good of a defender, but I do think that Butler can have that level of fantasy relevance at some point. This is the guy that's, I think, the most interesting. And that is Bona. Second round pick, UCLA, pretty undersized. He is a very athletic center. He is a very good defensive center. His season-long numbers won't wow you. 16 points a game, fantasy points. 307th in Durant. He played 58 games in 16 minutes on 14 usage. He's 22. He's a rookie. He barely played. He averaged 6 and 4. What the hell is good about that? Nothing. Except that he was 133rd post-trade deadline. How? He averaged 1.2 blocks in 16 minutes. He shot 70% from the field. He doesn't shoot threes. That's okay. That's never going to happen. But 67 from the line, not too bad. Darko loved him. Drip didn't. I don't know why that's the case. But 4% offensive load, 11 time on ball, but 81% rim contest. So those block numbers, could they be better? Maybe. He is a solid, an unbelievably good shot blocker, a very good efficiency guy, a good finisher, a solid rebounder, scoring, not bad. He did ramp up at times. He's not a complete, yes, offensive load 4% will tell you not very good. But I think when we saw at the end of the season that it was solid. And while we can look at this and go, yeah, but Embiid was out, Drummond was out, Gershon was out, and you're talking fourth string center, Josh. Well, who cares? And I agree. that as a general rule, no one should care that much about that. But when one of them is a 6'8", 29-year-old unrestricted free agent on a minimum contract, Gerson Yabusele, when one of them is a completely washed-up 32-year-old Andre Drummond, I don't think we're far off Bona just being the permanent backup center. And when you're the permanent backup center in Philadelphia, and the guy in front of you is Joel Embiid, yeah, I'm interested. Do I think that Bona is a star? Not really. I don't think he can become as good. I'm always use this guy as like the mid-center. Like not Jared Allen, he's better than mid. Clint Capella. He's not the same player as Clint Capella. He's much smaller than Clint Capella, even though he's a good shot blocker and good finisher. But like, could Bona ever become that level of starter? I don't think so. But Rashawn Holmes, maybe. I think that it was a really impressive rookie season. Yes, silly season and garbage time played a role, but it's not the main thing. I think that the Sixers could go into the season and he's just their backup. I think that's distinctly possible. Jalen Hood-Schifino played like one game for the Lakers. They declined his third-year option. Just one of the worst first-round picks we've seen in recent memory. Shout out to Johnny Davis. Came across to the Sixers on a two-way contract, had opportunities, but he didn't impress me. He's 22, 17 usage. He's one of those guys that in that draft class, I was like, there's going to be someone I'm very wrong about, and it could be this guy, but I didn't really like him. And then I got a bit panicked. Oh, maybe I'm just wrong. He's 6'5". Maybe he can shoot, but no, he can't. He can't shoot. I don't know. I actually don't know what he can do. He hit 86% from the line, so that's solid, but 30 from 3, 38 from the field. No real steals. 2.5 assists is all right. He showed some better numbers this season than he did last season for the Lakers. But still, overall, I don't think he'll be back. I think someone will give him a chance in camp. And I just think it was a bad pick, and it's just never going to work for him in the NBA. Even in this situation where you get the opportunities, like Doughton, Grimes, Butler, Hood-Schifino didn't stand out at all. Nothing about it to me goes, yeah, like there's something here. Not at all. Not interested. Don't think it's happening. Ricky Council's a hyper-athletic player. Shooting has been a problem for him. I don't really know what else he does, but he is an interesting guy. And I thought, again, we could have seen something from him this season, but Edwards overtook him. The shooting was a problem, 26% from 3. There was no Paul George. He had the chance. But under 20 usage, 17 minutes, 382nd ranked player. He averaged 7 and 2. Didn't generate defensive stats. Didn't shoot well. Didn't contest shots. Didn't get deflections. Drip liked him. Darko didn't. I was more high on Council at the end of last season when he was converted from a two-way onto a full-time contract. I thought he regressed this season actually pretty significantly. Doesn't pass. I'm not really sure what he is or where he fits now. I would persist with him for another year, but I think that we really needed to see shooting improvement. We needed to see him take games or take control of games. This is what you want when we're in silly season. Step up. Like, take over. Show us what you might be able to do, and then we contextualize it. But like Hood-Schifino, when you're placed in a spot to earn that time and you don't, and the numbers are pretty rough overall, it's hard to get excited. So I won't. But what I will get is the end of this show. That's the Sixers done. Tomorrow, NBA draft lottery. We'll have our first mock draft, so I'm going to be working on that. And then we'll go back into doing the next team, which is the Brooklyn Nets in the season review. Hit the subscribe, hit the double bang. I'll be waiting for you. Mock draft tomorrow. First 14 picks. First foray into the 2025 NBA draft. I tell you now, Cooper Flagg's going number 1. I don't care who gets picked number 1. That is what is happening in that mock draft, so sorry for the spoiler. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. It's good to be back. See ya.